Let's talk AirPods 3. AirPods V1 sound like total garbage. AirPods 3, they've impressed me. So I'm upgrading from version 1 AirPods. I originally got them in 2017 when they first came out. And when they first came out, they were unlike anything we'd really seen before. The utility was there and the compactness was there. The sound quality was not really there. So because of the crappy quality, I generally don't listen to music through AirPods. I have other wireless headphones that I use for that. So for over the ears, I have used the Bose QC35s for the past, 5 years. And those have kind of become my go-to for over the ear plus noise canceling. I think they have a pretty flat frequency response. And I think they have the best noise canceling. I think if you're not on the Bose train, you're probably on the Sony train, but I still prefer the Bose. And for in-ear wireless monitors, my go-tos have been the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless. And so when I'm trying to listen to music, those are kind of my go-tos. If I'm on the go, I'm usually using AirPods for calls, either on the phone or some kind of meeting. This is how I hear it. Okay, let's talk fit. V1 AirPods actually fit in my ear really well. I think there's been a lot of people saying that they don't fit their ears at all, they fall out, they just don't quite fit how they'd prefer. For V1s, they fit in my ear really well. I can move around, they don't fall out, I have no problem with them. So V3s are a little bit bigger and they have a different shape, so they actually don't fit my ear very well. They feel like they're kind of not seated all the way, and like I can tell that they don't fit properly. However, they don't fall out. They do stay in even when I move around, or if I'm running, or even if I'm kind of turning my head. They do stay in, but I just always kind of feel like they don't fit properly. So if the V1s don't fit you very well, it's likely that the V3s will fit. But if the V1s did fit you perfectly, you might not like how the V3s fit in your ear. So on V1s, the bass and the mids were super muddy for me. At first I thought this was just my pair, so I tried a couple different pairs and it was the same across all. There was not much definition in the highs. The stereo separation and the soundstage were just non-existent. But on the V3s, that's toned down a lot. I think the mids are very punchy. The bass is not overpowering. And I'm not a huge bass lover, but I do like to hear the frequencies. So even if it's not pronounced, I will like to hear, there's a lot of great frequencies in the 40 to 50 hertz range. I don't think these go down into the 30s. It would be great if they did. But even in the 40 hertz range, I can tell it's struggling a little bit. And it would be really great if I could hear those. And for the mids and highs, they're super clear and super punchy. Now for the soundstage, I think it's great. For me, it almost feels like I'm in a room, I'm listening to a pair of bookshelf speakers. I've got the mids and the lows down here, and I've got kind of a tweeter mid-range up here. And things that are supposed to be on the sides are very defined, and whatever's kind of lower down here in the spectrum, it's punchy and it kind of sits right there. So for me, it kind of feels like you've got a woofer and a tweeter, and you kind of have that separation. I've actually heard things in my own music that I wasn't hearing before, which is surprising because I mix and master on a various range of speakers and headphones. So it was kind of cool to hear some of those things. I previously found it impossible to get a good mix on V1 just because they were so muddy and there's just the frequency response just wasn't great. However, it is important that you mix on them because there are a lot of people that do listen to music on AirPods, and you need to get your music right for that. Now for sound quality in general, I won't go into the details here, but you're still limited to Apple's AAC over Bluetooth, so you're not gonna actually take advantage of Apple's most recent push for lossless audio, but they still sound really great. And if you're truly worried about the quality, then AirPods are not for you. You already know this. You're gonna go with some kind of wired headphone with a DAC and a separate amp. but I think these are more than adequate for the average listener. Okay, let's talk about the adaptive EQ. So this is my first time kind of experiencing this. Going from V1, there was none of this. In the AirPods Pro and in this version, they are basically, I think what they're doing, they're listening to the audio that they're pushing into your ear channel. Based on how it's fitting inside your ear, they are changing the EQ curve so that it sounds right. So for me, what I've experienced is, let's say I'm moving around and they're kind of moving inside my ear because they don't fit so great. That adaptive EQ is kind of kicking in. So even if I do it manually, if I kind of move it a little bit, the bass will be kind of accentuated, and then the adaptive EQ will kick in like half a second later. It'll kill that. It'll go back to normal. And if I move it a different way, the same thing will happen, and it kind of moves the EQ around. And so I think this is probably one of my biggest gripes about the headphones in general is if I'm moving and they're moving inside my ear, the sound can be kind of funky because they're actively changing that EQ curve. Now let's talk about noise isolation. Obviously, the AirPod 3s don't have active noise canceling. I'm actually not a huge fan of that anyway, but I think that's okay. These headphones actually feel more like a pair of open back headphones. They let a lot of the ambient noise from your surroundings kind of into your ear. So if you're inside an office or inside your house and someone's talking to you, you can still hear them. If you're walking on the street, you need to make sure you can hear cars or other people. You can totally hear them. But I kind of like the sound because, it's not just like isolated left and right channels. It kind of, again, feels like you're listening to a set of bookshelf speakers that are in a room. And I definitely prefer that. Let's talk quickly about the microphones. I don't think anyone's using these to record good audio, but if you are, it's decent. Let me do a couple of tests real quick. I'll go walk the dog and show you what that sounds like. All right, we are walking the dog in front of a very busy road, lots of cars passing. And some cars in the background, some people, some birds. How does this sound? And here's what it sounds like in a room using the AirPods microphones. All right, I'm using the Voice Memos app on the phone, and I believe it's using the right AirPod, although I have it on automatic setting, so it chooses which one to use. Okay, spatial audio. I think it's kind of a gimmick, at least for now. There are a few Atmos or spatial audio tracks that are available through Apple Music. When I listen to them, I don't know, it doesn't do that much for me. One of the things I don't like is that when you switch from your regular stereo mix to your spatial audio, it takes about half a second to a second to kind of switch over to that. And it also decreases the volume a little bit, so you have to kind of bump that up if you want to listen at the same level. To me, the mixes that I have heard, I actually just preferred the stereo mix better. I think mixing engineers do a really good job of making everything sound great in stereo and in mono. But maybe if this format kind of catches on, maybe people really start putting a lot more effort into these. We'll see. I'm actually kind of excited to play with spatial audio in my own mixes. In the most recent update of Logic Pro, 10.7, they've made it so that bedroom producers and mixers can mix in spatial audio. That paired with my distributor for music, DistroKid, they also allow people to submit spatial audio tracks to all the stores. So it'll be interesting to see. I actually think with spatial audio, it's not bad for listening to movies. Movies typically are already mixed in 5.1, 7.1, and they're kind of put together with that in mind, whereas I think right now music really isn't. And so they kind of already have those different layers kind of planned out. And so I think that translates really well to spatial audio. But we'll see. Maybe eventually, if this catches on, music will become more dimensional. All right, so what's the verdict? I think for the price, $179, I think they're a great buy for the overall convenience. So if you're in the Apple ecosystem, hands down, it's the best between your iPhone, your Mac, any other iOS device, or like your iPad. I don't think you should buy them for the sound quality alone. If you're going for in-ear monitors that are wireless, I would spend a little bit more money, about the $250 to $300 range. But for the convenience, hands down, you can't beat the AirPods. I'm just glad that finally you have the convenience factor and you have really good audio, so you can have just one pair of headphones. Whereas previously I was carrying the AirPods because of simplicity, and if I really wanted to dive into some music, I would use my Sennheisers. But I think for now, I'm gonna make the AirPods 3 my daily driver and see how that goes. But again, my only gripe is the fit. They don't fit perfectly in my ear, but they also don't fall out. So I think I'll keep them over swapping them out for the AirPod Pros, because I don't like the silicone tips on the Pros, and I also don't even need the active noise canceling. All right, that's it. Hope you found something useful here. Thanks for watching.